That is Jordan Strait and his latest, The Breath You Take. Jordan in here with you on this Tuesday afternoon. Got a special guest in the studio like we talked about. Of course, Heather Layne, Nashville recording artist and kind of an up-and-comer in the Nashville scene. Heather, how you doing?
Good. It's good to be here. Thank you.
You've been on the radio tour. You know, you were in, I guess, Bristow earlier today and been touring all the kind of southern middle part of the country. How you enjoying it so far?
Oh, we love it. The pace is a little slower out here than California, and we're just really eating that up. We love it out here. It's beautiful. People are awesome. Just very friendly and grassroots type people. We love it out here.
Well, we try to do that Okie hospitality the best we can, so hopefully everybody will uphold that. Talk a little bit. You talked about California from Clovis originally, which is where's that at exactly?
Clovis is right about the middle of California, right next to Fresno, California, Central Valley.
Okay, so and what was it like there? Now we talked a little bit off air. And got to bring this up. You actually were a trick rider for the rodeo. You have an identical twin. And so there's a lot of cool stuff. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, actually, my family moved out here from Oklahoma. My dad was born in Ada or Norman, one of those two. He can't remember for sure. But they ended up in the Central Valley. And then I have an identical twin sister. And we were involved in barrel racing growing up. And as we got to age 10... right around there, we joined a trick riding group that traveled the United States and the world, and we did trick riding, trick roping, a little bit of singing. So about 3 years of that with the rodeo circuit.
Well, and a lot of people, it's fun, they don't realize that Oklahoma and California actually have a lot bigger connection than you think. It goes back to the Dust Bowl with the Grapes of Wrath and the migration and everything like that. So a lot of Oklahomans, there is Oklahoma influence in California.
That's right. There's a lot of Oklahoma people out there, that's for sure.
So, and in fact, I got a few friends that are from California that go to school here at Oklahoma State, and it's always fun. People pester them, I don't know why, and I'm like, they're just as country as we are.
That's right.
But talk a little bit now. You got the radio promotion going on where you're going all around the nation promoting your music, and you got a current single out called Close Your Eyes, and talk a little bit about your music. It's more of a, it's very Christian-based, and it's about recovery,
That's
really.
Right. My life hit bottom about 10 years ago. I didn't grow up in church. We didn't have Bibles and prayer in my house, and when my life hit bottom, I needed something to grab onto, and 12-Step Recovery offered God in a non-church environment, and that's pretty much all I could handle at that point. And I went into it, just loved it, and I come from an abusive background with a relationship I was in, and my emotions were just mush at that point. And these songs just start coming out of nowhere. Of course, they're country because that's what I grew up on, but they're songs about healing and life and motivating ourselves to get better and move toward positive choices in our life.
Now, when I read the bio and everything, it wasn't because of alcohol or an addiction. It was the 12-step was just kind of a personal choice to kind of get you out of the hole, I guess you could say, is what that would be.
That's right. I was in a black hole, a pit, and it was a roadmap for me on what do I need to do to get out of this. And I got to give God the credit. He walked me through each step, put some really good people around me, and a good program to work. So, 12-Step Recovery isn't just for alcoholics and addicts. It covers a huge spectrum of people and their problems and what they're going through.
Well, and that brings me to the next point, that something that's close to your heart when we talk to you is, a lot of people don't realize that the prison type stuff, you play your music to a lot of people in prison. Some of the, I guess you'd say, toughest women's correctional facilities you have been to. And it's something that I guess I'll let you explain it in your own words, something that you kind of hold close to your heart.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I have the same heart that they do, the women in prison. I was in prison in my own way through the relationship I was in and just a lot of things I've been through in my life, the choices I've made. And when I go in there, I feel a real connection with them, and they really relate to my songs and what they're about. And definitely, I got my first standing ovation in a prison, and we actually go to men's prisons as well. We would probably be booked almost every weekend of the rest of our life if we could in a prison. It's one of our favorite places to go.
Well, and we talked a little bit about off air before brought you on was, in Oklahoma they have the program where they'll send high school students to the prison and try to tell them, hey, we want you to stay out of here. And not only that, it opens your eyes to the people, showing that they actually, they don't want to be there. They don't have their family anymore. And it kind of opens your eyes to let you know that they are people. And, they need help too, I guess you could say.
That's right. And we meet many, many prisoners that have done a complete turnaround and a change in prison and are, very good people now. But they still got to serve their time, and they know that. But they, they appreciate the visits. They appreciate the company and people, knowing that there can be a genuine change after the crime is committed.
Well, you have the guitar out. We talked a little bit about it, and you got a new CD, I guess, that's out or going to be out pretty soon.
Yeah, it's out. The Nashville collection is on my website, heatherlayne.com, and Layne is Layne. There's also prisoner letters on my website that I get from the girls, and I post them. I get their permission, and I post them on my website. Also, you can find my music on iTunes and Amazon.com.
And it's definitely kind of inspirational music, and you have the guitar out, and you're going to play us a song right now.
Yeah, it's one of the latest songs I wrote for a guy that lives in Arizona. It's a true story about a man that hit bottom about 5 years ago. He was drinking and things like that. He ended up losing everything he had but 2 bags. But he says it's one of the best things that ever happened to him because he realized what was really important in life. And the song is called Love Remains. So
here's Heather Layne in studio live with her single, not single, but her song Love Remains.
I'm at the bus stop Saturday, and this guy walks up like he's got something to say. He takes the seat and starts to tell his story. He says, ma'am, I know that you don't know me, but these 2 bags are all that's left of me. And through it all, God's been good to me. And he said, now I'm free, 'cause I finally see the important things and who I'm meant to be. I lost everything like a cleansing rain. The real
That's Heather Layne in the studio. Great song there, and it's always fun when you get a song that's, I guess you could say, real. You just met somebody and they told you the story, kind of like it goes, and that was it.
Yeah, I actually surprised him on our radio tour because we did a concert there in Mesa, Arizona, where he's at, and I saw his story online. He's got it posted on their website. And it just wouldn't leave me for like 2 months. You know, it was just on my heart. And finally, I told my husband, I'm going to have to just write this song. And I wrote it and showed up in Mesa and sang it, and he just bawled his eyes out.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And that's something you write the music, and music that touches people. And, you kind of through your own experiences, that's what you want to do. You want to reach out and be able to touch people.
That's right. My music has a purpose to it, and I want to see people get better, and I want them to know that there's hope. And there's a lot of people struggling out there right now that, they might be pretending like everything's okay, but sometimes under the surface it's just not okay. And that's where I see this music touches people, is right there in the heart.
Well, you talk about, and I looked through the list here, some of the musical influences you had, and you always, it's almost every one of them I see always kind of had, they had their fun songs, but they also had the heartfelt songs that meant a lot, and they were the ones that really touched people and people remember. And I go through here, you list Linda Ronstadt, Tanya Tucker, Alabama, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, John Cougar Mellencamp, and Don Williams. So Don Williams is actually one of my favorites. So a pretty good list of influences, and talk about how they influence your music today.
Well, it was just real songs. I mean, especially like Don Williams. He was so easy the way he sang. It wasn't anything complicated. His songs just had a clear message. I Believe in Love, that's one of my favorite songs. I cover that sometimes. I just love that music, grassroots, real America.
Yeah, and the Gentle Giant was what Don Williams was called, and of course Tulsa Guy. So
okay,
yeah,
wow,
so
cool.
they're pretty good little, I guess you say, influence right there, and I definitely one of my favorites. Even though I'm a younger guy, one of my favorite artists. Well, how can they get a hold of your music? HeatherLayne.com, I guess, is the best way. And when are you planning on coming back this Oklahoma way, I guess you could say?
Well, we're already rebooking concerts. People want to put us on again for 2011. We do a lot of recovery concerts at 12-step groups and coffee houses and stuff like that. So maybe in the spring, that's kind of what we're looking at.
So, and all the booking, HeatherLayne.com, your music, everything is right there for them on the website, correct?
That's right. We have a contact page under the booking tab.
All right. Well, before we let you go, I want to talk about the current single, Close Your Eyes. Talk a little bit about that song, how it came about for you.
Well, that song I wrote in my single mom years after my life crashed. Started writing music, and this song, I honestly wrote it in about 5 minutes, and it's a song that just comforts me every time I hear it. I thought of it as God singing this song to me and just saying, you know what, it's going to be okay. You don't have to worry. Sometimes things in our lives we can't change. We don't have the power to change a lot of circumstances in our life, and what we need at that time is just to be able to rest and say, you know what, God's going to get me through this. I'm going to be okay. And that's really what Close Your Eyes is about. Yeah,
and it's such a... Did you realize how dynamic the song was after you wrote it? I mean, because to me, when it starts off, I kind of got the message that it was like that, but it also was like it could be somebody that you just love, that you want close to you
right.
during a hard time.
That's right. And people interpret it differently. And when I went to... My husband standing right here with me, he was my drummer for 3 years before we were dating. And I remember writing that song at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 7 o'clock that night we performed that song. And I remember thinking of him. He was a single dad, and I thought, man, I would just love to be that woman that would comfort him, and I know he's lonely and weary. So yeah, the song, it meant one thing to me, but I felt like it also had another meaning, and I was definitely feeling that for him at the time. And we ended up getting married eventually, but... I actually married my drummer. I don't know how many people have done that, but...
Yeah, that's a whole interesting story in itself. Well, we're going to play the single now, and here is Close Your Eyes, Heather Layne's first single to radio, and give it a listen. Y'all guys can tell us what you think at 377-1055.